So my name is Melanie Gaertner, and I'm the product champion for Hydro GeoAnalyst. And so what I'd like to do today is go through Hydro GeoAnalyst 2013's new features. What I'd like to do is just do a really quick overview of what HGA is. That's just in case anyone on the line is completely new to HGA. Then I'm going to go through what the new features are, and then I will go to the program and show some of those new features directly in the program, and I'll open it up for questions at that time. So one of the other things I wanted to let people know about is that we do have HGA training available. This webinar is really just to explain what the new features are, but if you're looking to actually become trained within HGA, we have an online, a one-day online course, and that's going to be on June 13th. And we also have an open enrollment, that's for 4 days running from May 7th to the 10th. And that's going to be happening here in the Kitchener, Ontario, Canada location, where we actually develop the software. So if you're interested in taking either one of these courses, when you register, simply contact our sales department, and you can get a 20% discount on the cost of the course if you mention that you were here in the webinar. So if we're going to go just quickly through an overview of what Hydro GeoAnalyst is. So Hydro GeoAnalyst is our data management software. It allows you to consolidate all of your data into one single database. It runs off of a SQL Server database. And then Hydro GeoAnalyst not only lets you store and manage and QA/QC your data, but it goes further and lets you ask questions of your database then. It allows you to generate time series plots or borehole log plots, maps, cross-sections, 3D visualizations, reports, and many other ways for you to look at, analyze, understand, and get a feeling for what's going on at your site. So HGA can answer the questions that you have about your particular site. This allows you to be much more efficient, both with your time and your savings, because instead of spending all your time updating spreadsheets and not knowing what the most up-to-date data set is, you are able to concentrate your efforts on doing the analysis instead of running around updating all of these different spreadsheets. It also allows for better quality control because all of the data is in one place. So everyone who's working on a particular project knows where to go to get the most up-to-date information. It also allows you to really quickly update your project if more information or new information is generated or found. So you quickly can update the database, and then you can update your analyses with the new information. So now let's move on to the new features for 2013. HGA 2013 was released at the beginning of March, and I'd like to go through these 10 new features. These are 10 of the main features within the new release. And I'm going to go through them one at a time. So there's event planning, there's printing to PowerPoint and printing to Excel. I'm going to go through those. We have a new start page. We have updated our query builder, list editor, and material specification, so I'll show you what the changes are for those modules. We're also supporting SQL Server 2012 now, as well as SQL Server authentication. And then there were some changes to the user interface as well in hopes of improving the layout to allow for more flexibility for the users. So let's start with the event planning. The event planning module allows you to schedule your stations for regular field activities. So you can schedule your stations that are due to be sampled on a regular basis. You can have multiple schedules running on a project. So you can have this set of stations scheduled to have sampling done every, say, 6 months, versus another set of stations or wells that you need to sample only once a year, for an example. Then you can create plans for the field activities around the stations that are due to be sampled. So you can create a plan that indicates these are the stations that need to be sampled, whether or not you need to do QA/QC samples, so while you're at particular stations, whether or not you need to do a duplicate sample, or whether or not you should prepare a trip blank or an equipment blank, that sort of thing. it allows you to indicate which parameters are going to be analyzed on that sample so that the field personnel know which type of bottles and how much to collect. You can also specify additional data that when the field personnel are out there, they should also collect. So, for example, if you want them to also collect things like maybe do a field measurement for temperature or TDS or pH, or even to bring out the GPS unit and get the coordinates again for the station if there's concerns about the coordinates or the elevation, that sort of thing. And then finally, you can make a checklist for your plan so that you can indicate what needs to be brought out into the field to ensure that everything can be collected as planned. So when you create a field plan, then this prints out to a nice Word template that you can print off and pass on to the field personnel so that they have all of the information that they need in order to successfully complete the field activities. And then after they've gone out, there's an option to close out your plans as well, because often when you make a plan for your field activities, it doesn't always go as planned. So we want to make sure that what was planned to be done was in fact done. And the option to close your plan also allows you to indicate if you missed a station or you weren't able to collect certain information, you can reschedule those stations to have a new plan and collect that information that was missed. We also have a new option for printing borehole log plots to PowerPoint. So we did have some feedback from clients indicating that the old style report editor was a little difficult to get the borehole log plots to look the way that they want. So we've provided this new integration with the Office tools, and you'll notice that throughout my presentation that we're trying to integrate more with the Office tools because we're just finding that people are most comfortable with those tools. So the option to print your BHLPs to a PowerPoint template is going to be found on the Well Profile tab, and I'll show you that when we go to the program later. You have an option to print the currently selected station group. So as many stations are in the current station group will be printed out to the template. And we include an SWS template, but of course we recognize the fact that most everyone wants to create their own template. So we also have an option where you can create a brand new template. You start off with a base template that has a holder for the image for your BHLP, and then you have the option to add a query, and this allows you to specify from the database what other information do you want on your BHLP print template. Do you want things like the elevation and the top of casing and the coordinates, or is that not really important for your template? So you can totally decide on that, and I'd be happy to show that after the presentation as well. So one of the other things just to make a comment on is with our integration to use Office products, we have also changed the way in which the templates are stored. So all of these templates are going to be stored when you first launch HGA. So after you've done installing HGA, when you launch it, it will ask where you want to store your templates. So if you are working by yourself, you can just store them on your local machine. But if you're working in a collaborative environment where several people are going to be working on the project, you can also specify to save them somewhere, say, on your network server, so that everyone has access to use the same templates. And that will help for standardizing across a larger company. So now we also have some options to print to Excel. So if you're looking to print off, say, your list of stations, the results of your query, or even just a table of data from our station data tab, commonly I find people are doing this for appendices in reports, right? So if you have to prepare an appendix for your report and you have several tables of data, we found that Excel is just the easiest and simplest way to print off large tables of data. So you can very quickly print your table of data to an Excel template. And again, same as before, you can adjust the template to have your own logo and whatever you want on the template to standardize across your company. We also have an option now to chart in Excel. So for the time series charting, you can push your query that has your time series data to an Excel template. You can specify the X and Y axes, what you want plotted, and then you can automatically generate a chart right within Excel. And this we just found, again, people are more comfortable with doing the charting and the options that are available within Excel. So they've found this option quicker to get familiar with and comfortable with. So that's why we're providing more options to go to Excel. So the next new feature is a start page. So Hydro GeoAnalyst for someone new coming in can be considered a little bit intimidating because it is a large product that has a lot of features in it. So what we tried to do is on this start page guide you to the things that you would most commonly be doing. So on the start page, you'll find there's the options to create a new project, to open an existing project, as well as the option to install the demo project. And installing the demo project was one of the features from the previous version. We also have down along the left side here, all of the recently opened projects that you have. So with one click, you can reopen your project. And then we have 3 tabs on the main page. The first tab is going to explain the new features. So the new features that I'm going through today, you'll find in the start page. So you can find out more information, a description of those new features. And for the majority of the features, we also have a video that's been uploaded to YouTube. So if you have further questions or concerns, you can check out those videos and hopefully find out how to do things in the new modules and the new features. We also have the second tab are the release notes. So anyone who is familiar with our README file, it's going to essentially be the README file that explains in more details the new features as well as the bug fixes in the recent versions, as well as the limitations and known issues with the program. And then on the third tab, that's our support tab, we've provided more information if you require further support. So our technical support information is here, the phone number and the email. The nice thing is if you generate an email using this link in the support tab of the start page, it will actually grab all of your system information, which is also displayed here. And this can often be very helpful to our support personnel to answer or further dig into any issues or concerns that you might have. We also have a link here to what we call the problem step recorder. So the problem step recorder is actually not something from HGA, but it comes from your operating system. So it's only available in Windows 7 or later, okay? So it's not going to be available on XP or Vista. And what that does is it's a really simple little tool that allows you to take screen captures. It automatically takes screen captures as you click. Everywhere you click, it takes a screen capture and then zips up a recording that you can send to technical support. So if you're having a hard time explaining, well, this is the problem that I'm encountering, you can use this problem step recorder to record your steps in the software so that our support team can see exactly what you're trying to do. And then on the right-hand side here, we just have some more resources for you. So the link to the YouTube channel that has not only the new feature videos, but all of the videos about HGA. We have a link to our online frequently asked questions. And we also have a link to our training page that goes through the upcoming online and open enrollment courses that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. So I mentioned that we've also updated some of the new, some of the modules. So the Query Builder is one of the modules that we updated for HGA 2013. Previously in the Query Builder, you always had to remember to generate your SQL statement before you execute the SQL statement. And we now do that automatically. So you just need to hit the button once and it will generate and execute the statement for you. it will show the results in the Data Query tab. And the Query Builder itself launches as a tab. So with the new functionality of the main view of HGA, you can see your Query Builder and your results at the same time. So you can quickly adjust and make changes in the builder. Simply hit the execute button and see the results right away in the tab. You can see them at the same time. In fact, if you like, you can actually pull the tabs out of the main frame, and if you have multiple windows, you can spread them across multiple windows, which is something I like to do. Additionally, for those people who like the option to write their own SQL statements, we have included an autocomplete option that helps you to generate your SQL statements. So if in the SQL view you'd like to go and write your own statements, you'll notice that the autocomplete, as soon as you start typing a couple of letters, will try and help you to find either the SQL term that, like select and those kind of terms, or the names of the stations or the fields that, the tables or the fields that you're trying to write. So I have a couple of screen captures. So like I said, this is the new Query Builder. It looks very similar to the old Query Builder, but it launches as a tab within the main view of HGA. You still have the fields that you are used to on the left-hand side here. You can drag and drop them into the display fields as well as into the conditions. So it's not, in that way, it's not making too much of a difference, but you have here in your SQL view the option to, when you start typing your own statement, you'll notice this is the autocomplete where it recognizes, hey, you know what, you've typed in a couple of letters and those match up with a table in the database, so it'll just prompt you to autocomplete your statement.
Ok. J'ai téléphoné au numéro qui est donné, donc je fais le numéro.
It looks as though we've had more people join, so just to let you know, I'm going to mute all of the lines so that everyone can continue to hear me. All right? I'll open them up again at the end when I go into the program to show the features. So let's carry on with the list editor. So the list editor was also updated. It's allowing you now to find the field that you want to generate a list on with a tree view. So in the previous list editor, it was a very long drop-down list, and that we had clients saying that it was difficult sometimes to find the field that they were wanting to create their list on. We also have a simpler option for importing your list from CSV file or your Excel file. And we also have an option where you can import based on image files, and it also launches as a tab. So here's what the list editor looks like. As I mentioned previously, there was a very long drop-down list of all of the fields in your database, and instead now you're going to see the same tree that you're used to seeing within the Query Builder or say the Template Manager, so that you can quickly find the field that you want to generate your list on. Okay, and of course this list is what shows up in the main HGA as a drop-down list when you're manually entering data, so that you can more quickly select from the drop-down list and you don't have to worry about typos and that sort of thing. Then up at the top we have some new options for the importing and the exporting is just simplified, and the option for importing a list that includes images. And then the material specification. Now this module was also updated. It's similar to the list editor where you have a simplified importing option. You can import based on your images. And the export is a little bit more useful where you're exporting the name of the classification as well as your image. And it also launches as a tab. So you have the opportunity to move this around within the interface and allows you to see or work within any of the modules that you have open. You're not restricted to close down one module before you go and work in another module. So as I was saying here, it is similar to our material specification from before. You create new material specifications on the right-hand side here, and the new options for the simplified import are here as well as the export. And then again, same as with the list editor, we have this option for importing for your images. So this is especially nice for the material specification. If you have a set of your own images that you want to use for the specification, for your particular soils, you want to classify them with using these images. This option here allows you to simply select all of your images at once. It will import them in, and it will use the name of the image file as the name of the soils here. So in a very quick and simple way, you can generate your own classification. So I had mentioned we are also supporting SQL Server 2012, but we continue to support SQL Server 2005. And we support both the Express as well as the full editions. And with the SQL Server 2012, there is a new option for a local database, and you have that option when you're installing the demo project. So if you just want to have your own copy of the demo project on your machine, for example, you do not need to have SQL Server on your machine. You can install the demo project on this local database, which just runs off of a couple of files. And then you don't need to worry about actually installing the SQL Server on your own machine. Okay. Now, for creating new projects, brand new projects, you still are required to install the SQL Server. But one comment here: the SQL Server 2012 from Microsoft is only supported on Windows 7 or later. You will find that you are unable to install SQL Server 2012 on XP or Vista. It's simply not supported. And related to that, the SQL Server authentication. So this occurs at project creation. When you create a new project, you have the option to indicate if you want to use Windows authentication or SQL Server authentication. So Windows authentication will use your login that you log in with your computer to authenticate you against the database and make sure that you have permission to open up that database and make adjustments to the database. Versus SQL Server authentication, where you have specific username and password to the different databases. So this means that if you use SQL Server authentication for your project, you will be prompted for a username and password each time you open up your project. And this will be the SQL Server authentication username and password. And then at the end, the user interface improvements. So we've made it easier for you to show or hide the project tree. So if you're trying to gain more screen real estate, we have more grouping options on the project tree. So in 2012, we allowed you to group your queries. And now we allow you to group just about anything on the project tree, including your station groups, your maps, your cross sections, whatever you want to create a grouping folder for to help you organize that project tree, because we are recognizing that as projects go on, the tree can be quite long. There can be quite a few things in your project tree. That being said, we've also incorporated a filter option on the tree. So if you're looking for something, you can just start typing the name of whatever you're looking for in your project tree, and that will help you to find it easier. And as I've mentioned, anything that's launching as a tab that looks like a tab in the main view can actually be pulled right out of the view so that you can make use of multiple monitors. And this just helps you to customize the look of the program for whatever it is that you're doing. So if you're working, say, on your queries where you have the query builder and the query results showing on each of your monitors, or if you want to rearrange the tabs so that you can see things like the material specification at the same time that you're working on the query builder, you have a lot more options within the interface to do that. You can rearrange them, you can pull them out, you can move them onto different monitors, that sort of thing. So here you can see, for example, where you have the project tree, you have this option to close or hide it, open or close it, sorry, so that you can hide it and make use of the screen real estate. We also have these options here, which allow you to pin the tree to the left or to the right, if you prefer. And previously, we've had this option before with HGA 2012, where you can have different groups of these tabs. So you can see here we have the list of stations, but at the same time, I can look into the station data tab and drill down into any of the tables. And then here's the well profile tab that displays your borehole log plot. So any of these tabs you can pull right out of the main view and you can put onto a secondary monitor. So I'll just reiterate, we do have some HGA training available. The one-day online course is June 13th, and the 4-day open enrollment, which is going to be held here in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada, May 7th to the 10th. If you're interested in more information about these courses, I'd request that you contact our sales department, and they will be willing to give you a 20% discount on the cost if you mention that you came to the webinar. So what I'm going to do now is open up the lines. I'll unmute the lines and we can have questions. And I can also show within the program any of the new features that you're interested in seeing. So do we have any questions? No? Okay. So then maybe what I'll do is I'll just go through some of those new features. So the user interface is an easy one to show. So like I was saying, you have the option to show or hide your project tree. You can pin or dock the tree to the left or to the right as you prefer. And we have this option to filter the tree. So if you're looking for something and you can't figure it out, you can actually just type it, and then anything with whatever you typed in will show up. Okay, and if you unclick the filter, your normal filter tree will appear. So one of the other things that I mentioned was the start page. Here's the start page, and you have options for when you want to show it. By default, it's going to show as soon as you start HGA, even before you open up a project, so that it sort of guides you to what you might want to do within the program. As I mentioned, your new project, open a project, install the demo project. Here are some of my recent projects that I've opened up. The new features, we have the release notes, as well as the support options. So for technical support, the resources for the YouTube channel, the online FAQs, the frequently asked questions, the training, and the problem step recorder that I was talking about. So what I'll do is I'll close some of these tabs just so that you guys can see. This is our new query builder, so I can make a new query. And same as before, I can double click on things here to make my query, or I can also use the SQL statement view that allows me to write my own SQL statement. This option or this confirmation comes up because if you are going to write in your own SQL commands, then the designer portion is going to be closed off. So what you'll notice is those are grayed out, and I can go in here and I can type whatever I want for my own SQL statements. And you can see the autocomplete is helping me. There's the from, and if I wanted to say from the stations, you can see the autocomplete is helping me here. It's trying to pull out either the SQL terms or the database tables or field names, so you can more quickly create your own SQL statement. Okay. I mentioned also, let's go to the event planning. So the event planning module has a couple of different workflows. The first one is to schedule your stations. So if you want to schedule, we'll make a new one. I don't have anything yet. We can say, hey, you know what, this is going to be our spring schedule. We can schedule it for today, and I can say that I want to schedule these 5 stations. You also have an option to set a reoccurrence if you like, so these can be once a month, once every 3 months, once a year, however you want your schedule. So when you create a new schedule, you will see that it occurs on the calendar of the event planner, and when you click on that day, it will indicate, hey, you know what, those are the stations that are due for scheduling that day. So then you can create a plan for those stations. So if I have, and the other thing that I was mentioning during the presentation is that you can have multiple schedules going on. If you have multiple schedules, you can select multiple days in the calendar, and any of the days that have stations will be recognized when I go to create my plan. So when I create my plan, I'll put in some details. So I'll say, like, this is going to be my plan for spring 2013. I'm going to do the field activities today, for example. I can put in whatever I want as far as the technician who's going out into the field, the lab that I'm going to send my samples to, and I'm going to put myself as the approver. So here on the next step, it recognizes those 5 stations are the 5 stations that are due, but if you like, you can add more stations. You can go through the different, whatever station groups that you have, and pick different stations to add. You can go and say, at what stations do you want to perform any QA/QC analysis? So I can say, you know what, when I'm at one of the particular stations, I want, oh, these aren't showing up, sorry. So when I'm at a particular station, I can do a duplicate or a blank, to prepare a blank, or I can do an equipment blank. So a trip blank or an equipment blank or a duplicate are the options. We also have this option here for the parameters that need to be analyzed. So if you're going to analyze different parameters on your samples, you may need to bring different reagents into the field, or you may need to bring different size bottles. So this just allows you to specify, hey, you know what, I want these parameters to be measured as well as, say, these parameters. So by default, the option is going to apply all those parameters to all of the stations. But if you prefer, you can specify one at a time what parameters for what station if you have different parameters to be analyzed for different stations. We also have an option for the list of parameters comes from the list editor within HGA. But you can also organize the list of all of these parameters into your own groupings. So if, for example, the labs have their own set where if you, you have this set of parameters for a special price, you can create your own grouping of parameters. So you can see that we provided some of our own groupings. But again, this is completely flexible, and you can create your own groupings as well. Then we'll go to the additional data. So if you're going to be sending field personnel out, you might also want them to go and do some other field measurements. So for example, if you're already out in the field, you may want to take pH and temperature, or total dissolved solids, some additional measurements while they're out in the field. And then you can create a checklist so that your field personnel don't forget to take however many buckets they need, bring the new pH meter, etc. Right? And then when you finish this, it prints off to a Word template. So this can be very easily adjusted. Again, you can adjust the information like the logo and whatnot. It pulls from that first step who the field technician is supposed to be, what lab we're going to be sending it to, that sort of thing. On this first page, it has a summary. So it gives you all of the stations and their GPS coordinates so that you can put them into the GPS if you're going out into the field. And it has your checklist of things that you need to bring into the field with you. And then thereafter, you'll find that each page is one page per station and specific to that station. So here's GB1, here are the parameters that we're going to be analyzing the sample for, and here's the additional information that we want to be collected when I'm out in the field doing the sampling. Okay, so you can quickly and easily print this off and provide it to your field personnel. So once the field personnel have come back, you can close out your field plan. So this allows you to essentially say, hey, you know what? This is what I planned for my spring, 2013 that was supposed to be. Did I collect everything? So if everything went as planned, you can say, yeah, sure, I collected everything. But if it didn't go as planned, say you ran out of time and you weren't able to get to this 5th station, you just need to provide a comment saying no time or whatever the problem was. I restricted access, I couldn't get there. And then at the end, you have the option to reschedule that station that was missed, right? You want to make sure that everything that was planned did actually happen. So you can put in your comments about the plan, and then you can indicate that everything was provided and close out your actual plan. So when you look at the plans, you can see that this one was closed off. So you have an option here. You can always come back and take a look and see what was done, who did this plan, what did they collect, what did they miss, etc. And then I can also show you, for example, the material specification. Again, notice that it launches as a tab, so this tab, it's difficult for me to show on my laptop. I'm doing this presentation on my laptop, but if you have the multiple monitors, you can just pull them out and play with the different tabs. That's kind of cool. And if I wanted to make a new specification, one of the nice new features is this option to add your soils based on your images. So if I were to pick, see if I have, here I just have some colors. These won't give me very good names of soil. But just like that, I imported in the 15 different colors with the images. And you notice that it took the name of the file with that image. So if you have all your soils already, you have very specific images, you can very quickly create your new specification. And the same thing goes for the list editor. So I could do the same things for, I think in lithology, there's sometimes a color field that you can specify. So you can see how very quickly you can generate lists with those images just by importing them in with that new option, this new option here. Let's take a look at printing to Excel. So you'll notice on the different tabs on the station list or on the station data tab, this option to print to Excel. So this is going to print. We have a template that comes with the program like I mentioned, but of course you can go and adjust this yourself. So it just gives very basic information, the name of the what you're pushing to Excel, as well as a logo. So you can go into this, make your own template, and very quickly you can see it pushed my list of stations to Excel, where you can quickly print it out and or PDF it or get it prepared for your reports. Now let's also see the well profile. So the well profile is where you're going to see the option to print to PowerPoint as well as to create your own print template. So if I were to use this option, it's going to print all of the stations. So maybe what I want to do is first go to the station list and let's make a new station group. Oops. Oh, not sure why it didn't like that, but it made my station group. I'm going to pick a couple of stations and put those 4 to that example station group. Okay? So, of course, sending all of the images of the 151 stations would take quite some time. So I just want to show you quickly with the well profile. If I print to PowerPoint my 4 stations that I put into this example one, I have I have some different PowerPoint presentation or templates that I created. The one that comes with HGA is the station group template, so it's going to print one for each of the stations in the currently selected station group. And so I just want to show you quickly how you can push that to PowerPoint. So what it's done, I'll make this a little smaller so you can see. One page for each of your stations. It's pulled some information automatically from the database, including the name of the station, the X, Y, the elevation, and the top of casing. So as I mentioned, if you prefer, you can create your own template, you can use your own logo, and you can specify a query. If this isn't the kind of information that you want to show on your borehole log plot, you can pull whatever information you want from the database. But we do recommend that you pull information that will result in a single entry, because it will pull one per each station, of course, into your PowerPoint presentation. So this allows you to customize your printing of your borehole log plots. So for example, if you want to, I know that here in North America, we use a different page size setting. So you can, something like the page size setting previously was a difficult thing in the report editor to retain. The PowerPoint templates store all of that, whether or not you want to use portrait or landscape, or if you want to use the 8.5 by 11 size that North America likes versus the A4 or the varying sizes I think in Europe are more popular. All of those type of settings you actually put directly into your PowerPoint template, and it makes it that much quicker for you to be able to generate out your BHLPs nice and quick and easy for printing.
May I have a question?
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, my question is, if you have a deep station, how would you print it on multiple pages?
Currently, it automatically goes one station per page. So you're looking to, you would like an option to say print this one to 2 pages, so to cut it in half. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay, so currently we don't have that option, but that's good feedback that I could bring to back to the developers to see whether or not we can specify that. Because in the template, oh sorry, I closed that. In the template, it has an image holder for the image. So we just have to see how we can specify that, hey, for each station I want to split the image between X number of pages. Yeah, we'll have to add that functionality.
Or for instance, just tell the template that I want you to create a page for every 10 meter depth or something like that. So.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way too of doing it based on the actual depth of the individual station. So if I'm looking at the descriptions, then I can say here, hey, you know what, I want it for every 10 meters or every 20 meters, that sort of thing, and then it'll break it up. Yeah, that functionality we'll have to add, but that's a good suggestion. Were there any other questions? Otherwise, I'll close off the webinar at this time, and just like to say thank you very much for your attendance. And if you do have any further questions, please feel free to contact us. I'll just reiterate, you can contact our sales department or our support department if you have any questions or concerns, or if you would like to try out HGA or the new features of 2013 and get a download of the newest version. Thanks again.